hate apples? Because a lot of people say that they hate the thing that their mother craved.
I love apple crumble. And I like apple pie, and it's something I'll make. I tend to be more along the lines of a kind of Dutch apple pie.
Yeah.
Because, if you're going to have apple pie,
really naughty version.
You must have a real naughty version.
So you don't really like apples, you just like loads of sugar with them.
I'm quite sugar. So apples, I don't tend to have them in the house. And the other thing was, my dad worked as a coal miner, and my mum used to suck on a piece of coal.
Yeah.
Which is so random.
I know. And you don't get that now, but then you did because it was available and people had coal fires and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, because like now, where would you get a piece of coal from?
I know.
If you were craving it. And
why would you crave coal?
But maybe it's to do with the diet and the access we have to different foods and things now. Like my diet is very varied, and I don't eat a huge amount of fruit, and maybe that's where the citrus craving came from, because I don't really like fruit, so I don't really eat very much of it. But fruit and but veg and sort of different meats and fishes and all that, I eat loads of different things. So maybe that's why I didn't really get a lot of cravings.
Because I think as well, if we go back to when I was a boy. Without being cheeky about myself or allowing others to be either. But back then, diets were different. And like for us, my father and mum grew lots of veggies. And I ate organic till I was about 10.
Yeah.
Not because I wore high-waisted pants and it was cool, because I was a hipster.
Just that was
and it's what we did
there,
back then. Yeah. And we had chickens and we had pigs and all sorts. And it was just sort of a community thing. And I ate a varied diet. And I think back to then and going, my dad grew maize or corn on the cob, and he grew bell peppers. And I remember kids coming from school to mine for tea, and there'd be bell peppers, and they thought that we ate alien vegetables.
What on earth is
because
this? Yeah.
the diet back in the 80s was just so different to where we are now. Pizzas were French bread and they came frozen, much like they do today, but like it was a different time and a different palate.
Yes.
Whereas today I suppose because like yourself, you eat such a varied diet that probably those cravings don't really come.
I don't know. I'd be interested to anybody that has had some crazy cravings, let us know, because
particularly
it still does happen. I just
particularly those who are experiencing a pregnancy where the child has Down syndrome, because again, if it's different, and it might not be, might not be.
I don't know. I haven't actually asked. I'll have to ask some of my friends with children
because
with Down
that
syndrome
kind
as
of
well.
idea that you have, you're pregnant and you don't know it because you're not sick.
No,
and you got to 24 weeks before you got a kick, and there's a detachment there.
Definitely, there was.
And
it did feel very strange. I didn't feel how I expected to feel, and it took me quite a long time to show, because Lucy was quite small, and that was why they were constantly doing lots of scans, because they wanted to do growth scans to check what a growth was like, because like I say, a lot of children with Down syndrome can struggle. And therefore, in the womb, and therefore they do need to keep an eye and make sure, because if not, then they'll come out very early to make sure that they can, get everything they need to keep growing. But yeah, so for me it was a slightly detached feeling, and I suppose there was a lot of stress, as we've discussed on previous episodes. There was a lot going on and a lot of appointments and a lot of discussion, and not all of it was positive. So that did take away from my pregnancy a little bit. But I got to a point in the pregnancy, once I started to meet other people in the community, and once I started to get my head around what was happening and that this was happening, but it was going to be okay, whatever, we were going to be all right. I did start to enjoy it more. And I think once I did start to enjoy it more, that's where I started to be more aware that she was there in my tummy. But up to that point, I did have a bit of a detachment, but I think a lot of it was to do with the stress and not having those pregnancy hormones that you're supposed to have, so I wasn't being sick.
Were you on supplements, and were you eating any diet special or special diet or anything like that? Because I'm with a not a regular pregnancy, as you've identified, with a baby with challenges, do they say to you, oh yeah, you need to eat more of this, or you need to take these kind of supplements?
Nothing
Is there
like that at all.
anything to help that along?
Nothing like that at all. Not at all.
'Cause
So,
that's-
like we said in episode 1, you know, I went on like very strong folic acid that the doctor prescribed when I found out I was pregnant due to my age and my weight and things like that. They wanted me on lots of folic acid, and that continued throughout.
But nothing specific.
But nothing
to
specific to
Right.
Lucy having Down syndrome. The medical professionals around me were more focused on Lucy than me, I would say. So
Right.
didn't really pay much attention to how I was, or, you know, they were very focused at the appointments. It was all about how's Lucy doing, or how's this baby doing. I don't know at what point we named her, but, you know, early on it was how's this baby doing, how's this baby growing, you know, this baby's got this heart condition, da 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 da. Not how are you doing, Mum or Laura, or, you know, do you need anything, or, you know, do you feel you're struggling with anything? You know, they sort of, you know, make reference to it here and there, but nobody had any bright ideas or any kind of, you know, suggestions on what I could do that would help me or Lucy or anything like that. So I just went off instinct, and like I say, you know, talking to other people and and that whole eating for two thing is a fallacy until quite late on.
Right.
So the last few weeks you need to up your calories. So I just sort of ate as I normally would, really, and I probably ate slightly more because, hey, I'm pregnant and I don't have to be on a calorie deficit for the first time in years. And so I enjoyed, you know, I ate Cocoa Pops and things for the first time in years, which was great fun. Probably why I ended up with gestational diabetes, though. But
Indeed.